Palo is a religion that invokes spirits of the dead.
Kobayende, collector of the dead. Once the terms are met, Kobayende will come to collect.
What do you want from me?
At the beginning of the movie, a party is taking place in a house. We see a group photo being taken. Then, the grandmother, Griselda, is shown leaving the party. Next, we see Rosario looking out the window. Her mother, Elena, who appears to be sick and coughing, asks if she's seen her grandmother and tells her to check where she is. Just then, her father Oscar calls her over and sits her down. He tells her that one day, all her dreams will come true. They make a hand gesture and says, "Love you" to each other. Rosario then goes to look for Griselda. She cautiously walks through the corridor and knocks on a door, which slowly opens on its own. She notices mud on the floor, pulls the curtain aside and sees insects scattered around. Then, she notices blood on Griselda's shawl. Frightened, Rosario starts to back away. Just then, Griselda appears behind her. Rosario turns on the light and we see a glimpse of Griselda behind her. As Rosario looks around, Griselda suddenly appears. Rosario asks her to come and pray with the family. Griselda replies, "My beliefs are different." Rosario notices Griselda's bleeding hand. Griselda calmly tells her to leave. Meanwhile, Oscar announces that it's Rosario's first communion. He asks everyone to take a moment to remember those who are no longer with them. As everyone closes their eyes to pray, Rosario sees Griselda walking silently among the guests. Griselda locks eyes with Rosario, terrifying her. Just then, the candle in front of Griselda suddenly goes out, and the scene cuts abruptly. The movie shifts to the present day. Rosario, now grown up, receives a call from her grandmother. After a moment of hesitation, she decides to ignore it. Now a successful stockbroker, Rosario is stopped at the office by security guard Miguel, who asks to schedule an investment meeting for him and his wife. She explains her firm requires clients to meet a minimum threshold. Just then, she receives another call from her grandmother, but once again, she ignores it. Back at the office, Rosario ignores the call again. Later, she receives another call from her grandmother, but this time, she answers. The voice on the other end is distorted. A man tells her that Griselda has passed away. Shocked, Rosario asks which hospital they're taking her to. The man says the weather outside is very bad and asks if anyone nearby can keep track of the body. She says she's alone, but insists she's coming. Later, Rosario calls her father to inform him. It's revealed that Elena and Oscar are separated, and Elena, who used to live with Griselda, is no longer alive. Rosario tells Oscar she's heading to her grandmother's apartment. Oscar warns her not to go and says he will handle everything. She replies that the weather is terrible and it will take him over 3 hours to get there. He tells her he's leaving now. In the subway, Rosario plays a voicemail from Griselda, who pleads, "Please forgive me." Her voice coughs and distorts. She turns to see her sick mother standing at distance. Then she suddenly vanishes. Frightened, Rosario walks away. She finally arrives at her destination and enters the building. An old man named Marty appears. She asks if the elevator is broken, and he confirms, mentioning irregular door functions and strange noises. He offers to take her to Griselda's apartment. On the way, she asks if her grandmother was sick. Marty replies that Griselda was homesick and often talked about returning to the old country. He asks if she came alone. She tells him her mother passed away a few years ago, and Griselda was the only one left on her mother's side. But her dad is on his way. While unlocking the door, Marty mentions Joe, the neighbor. He then opens the door and says he and Joe placed Griselda on the sofa and covered her with a sheet, and that the ambulance should arrive soon. He quickly blows out some candles, saying, "I just blew these out," then leaves, leaving Rosario alone with Griselda. Rosario softly cries and pulls back the sheet. She's startled by the sight. Closing her eyes, she notices strange cuts and symbols carved into Griselda's body. Suddenly, she hears glass shattering and heads to the kitchen, where everything is decayed and infested with insects. She carefully tosses the dirty plates in the trash. She then hears an ambulance outside and waves, but it drives off. She quickly calls 911, explains the situation, and says an ambulance just pulled up and left. Can you ask them to come back? The operator explains it was diverted to a critical emergency. When Rosario asks, so my grandma's body is just supposed to rot here? The operator says they'll return in a few hours and hangs up. Just then, she notices the candles are lit again. She blows them out. Just as she sits, a train rumbles nearby, shaking the apartment violently. Griselda's body falls off the sofa. Once the shaking stops, she drags her grandmother's body and settles it in the bedroom. She notices a framed photo of herself on the wall, looks at it briefly, then sets it aside. She glances into a mirror and sees Griselda's head move. Startled, she checks on the body and notices one of Griselda's nostrils twitching. Suddenly, a worm crawls out, followed by black liquid. Disgusted, Rosario wipes it off, picks up the worm with a napkin, and goes to throw it away, but it crawls into her hand. Panicked, she removes off her jacket as the worm moves upward. She quickly yanks it out from her ear. The experience leaves her deeply frightened. She then sees mud on the floor and hesitates to investigate further, deciding to leave. But moments later, she returns, pulls aside a curtain, turns on the light, and finds Griselda's clothes. Behind them, she discovers an animal skull and fresh blood on one of the garments. As she moves the clothes, she finds a locked door marked with a strange symbol. Suddenly, there's a loud knock. She peeks through the peephole and opens the door to find Joe, the neighbor. He says, "You must be Rosario. I'm Joe. Marty and I moved your grandma onto the sofa." She thanks him and asks if he needs anything. Joe replies, "Your grandma borrowed my air fryer. I need it back. Let me in. I'll grab it," Rosario says. "If I see it, I'll let you know." Joe insists, but she stands firm and closes the door. He knocks again. She asks, "Anything else?" He says, "You should put some ice on your hand. It's burned." She quickly finds a bandage. While wrapping her hand, she notices strange symbol carved into Griselda's leg. As she examines further, she discovers barbed wire wrapped around her thigh. Carefully removing it, she finds a key hanging from it. She goes to unlock the lock she had seen earlier, and it opens. As she opens the door, she discovers a black magic setup inside. Cautiously stepping in, she glances around and finds strange, disturbing items. She picks up something resembling a voodoo doll with the name Kobayende written on it. Placing it back, she notices a photo of herself. Then she spots something even more horrifying. Her teeth, strands of her hair, and a used tampon, presumably for a blood ritual. The sight makes her vomit. Just then, someone is seen crawling in the background. Rosario hears a faint creak. Terrified, she investigates, but someone quickly hides. Startled, she tries to run, but her face hits barbed wire. She yelps in pain and rushes out. Suddenly, the lights begin to flicker and then go out completely. Overcome with fear, she decides to flee the building. Before leaving, she sticks a note on the door, "Body in bedroom." Just then, Joe arrives and notices her bleeding face. He asks if she's leaving and mentions the bad weather, then brings up his air fryer. She ignores him and walks away. Downstairs, Marty, fixing the fuses, warns her about the curfew, but she insists on leaving. With no cabs available, she runs to the subway. In the subway, a man's voice calls out, "Subway's closed." His dog barks, and Rosario panics. He asks her not to run, but she does, so he lets the dog chase her. Rosario escapes, but Alina suddenly appears, grabs her arm, slams her head into the subway gate, and vanishes. The dog catches hold of Rosario's coat, but she slips out of it and runs back to the building. As she re-enters, the fuse box sparks. She starts searching online and comes across Palo, a dark religion blending African traditions and Latin American Catholicism spread through slavery and forced migration. Its practitioners, known as paleros, use animal and human remains to communicate with spirits through iron pots called ngangses, tools essential for making deals and casting curses. She reads on, then freezes. A symbol appears on screen, a mark of life and death, the accursed. The same symbol is on her hand. Terrified, she calls her father. She says, "I think Griselda cursed me before she died. I found a black magic setup in her apartment." Oscar insists Griselda wasn't evil. She was a witch doctor. She helped people. She moved here without papers. That palo, her cauldron, it reconnected her to her roots. "Why would she curse you?" Rosario replies. "She wanted revenge. I turned my back on her and her daughter. I chose you after the divorce. I wasn't there when Mom and she died." Oscar reminds her, "You were just a kid." He urges her to come home, promising to handle everything. But Rosario is firm. "I'm not leaving until I break this curse," he protests. But she ends the call and heads back. She sees Joe trying to unlock her grandmother's apartment. Going inside, she says, "Leave me alone." She heads back to the chamber and tries to set the cauldron down. As she attempts to drag it, the chain gets stuck. Suddenly, Elena's ghost appears, gripping the chain and crawling toward Rosario. After a struggle, she manages to slam the chamber door shut. As she locks it, Elena's ghost haunts her from within, hurling Rosario back. She begins searching for a way to break the palo curse, but her phone battery dies and bangs her phone on a wooden cabinet and notices a hollow space behind it. She lights a candle and discovers a hidden compartment. Inside, she finds an old book. Flipping through the pages, she searches for information on breaking the curse. She reads, "The blood of the accursed and the blood of the palo who cast the curse must be poured into the cauldron through which the curse was made." Rosario cleans a knife, seats Griselda, and cuts her own finger, letting her blood drip into the cauldron. Then, she slits Griselda's finger, but no blood comes out. She tries cutting her wrist, still nothing. Desperately, she raises the knife to Griselda's throat, but hesitates. Just then, her phone vibrates. It's a call from her grandmother. She says, "Please forgive me." The voice distorts and the phone shuts down. Suddenly, Elena emerges and says, "After all I've done for you, help." Immediately, Rosario stabs the knife into Griselda's hand. Blood pours into the cauldron and Elena vanishes. Her phone vibrates again. It's her grandma. She says, "Forgive me." Rosario is shaken. Why didn't the curse break? Griselda's head slumps forward. Suddenly, she haunts Rosario. Rosario scrambles under the bed as ghostly hands claw at her from all sides, then vanish as quickly as they came. Then Elena reappears. She says, "You didn't want to watch me die. Now watch me die," and vomits black sludge onto Rosario. Rosario escapes in a panic. There's a knock at the door. It's Joe asking for his air fryer. Rosario replies, "My grandma didn't even use an air fryer." Joe says, "You didn't know her like I did." Hearing this, she opens the door and asks him, "You said she used to talk about me. What would she say?" Joe hesitates. "I don't want to get involved in family stuff." She pleads. He sighs. "Your grandma loved you. She was proud of you. She prayed day and night that you'd succeed. I used to hear her through the walls." Rosario asks, "She made sure I became successful?" He replies, "She prayed constantly for your dreams to come true." She quickly rushes back inside, realizing that Griselda didn't curse her but made a wish, a deal for her. Flipping through the spellbook, she finds a page titled "A Deal with Cobayende." She returns to the chamber, lights the candles, finds a note on Cobayende. She reads, "Cobayende, wanderer of darkness, collector of the dead. Once the terms of a deal are fulfilled and the dream is realized, Cobayende comes to collect. A scorned spirit will torment the beneficiary until death by sunrise." As she reads, we see Elena walking behind her. Rosario says, "I don't want anything anymore," only to realize the spellbook is gone. She spots Griselda holding it. Rosario tries to take it, and after a lot of struggle, the book falls across the room. Rosario reads, "A deal may be nullified if the Palero who made it places their blood into the Nganga, sacrificing their soul to Cobayende." She whispers, "But Grandma's already dead." She then decides to trap Cobayende in her grandma's corpse. She then grabs one of Griselda's jackets, takes some of her blood and hair, and begins setting up for a ritual. She then looks in the mirror and wonders what she is doing. Following the instructions from the spellbook, she starts the ritual. Just then, she hears the wail of an ambulance siren and hastens her chanting. Marty calls out, "The medics are here!" She quickly blows out the candles and drags Griselda away to hide her. When Rosario doesn't respond, Marty unlocks the door and sees the body in not on sofa. He then heads to check the bedroom. Rosario is hiding when suddenly Elena's ghost appears. It turns toward her and begins crawling in her direction. Rosario screams for help. Elena says, "Griselda was always by my side. Now you'll be with us." Elena starts strangling Rosario. Marty bangs on the chamber door, and we see a cross in Elena's hand as she tries to kill Rosario. Suddenly, a medic's flashlight shines into the chamber. They leave, and Elena vanishes. Rosario then realizes that Griselda is missing. She comes out and looks around. Griselda is now seen hanging from the ceiling. A train passes, causing the apartment to shake. Rosario notices Griselda and tries to bring her down, but suddenly Griselda falls on top of her. Rosario puts on the jacket and continues the ritual. As she reads from the spellbook, Griselda's mouth stretches open, and a hand begins to emerge from it, startling Rosario. Suddenly, the hand retracts. Elena suddenly slams Rosario's head against the wall, knocking her out. The light returns, and Rosario sees Elena in her human form. Rosario stands with a knife in hand, ready. But when she realizes Elena looks normal, she says, "It's really you, Mom." Elena replies, "I'm so proud of you." "The nightmare is over," Rosario says. "I'm sorry for abandoning you and Griselda, for choosing Dad after the divorce. I thought I wouldn't get ahead in life if I stayed with you and Grandma." Elena replies, "My mother and I always supported you," Rosario says. "When you got sick, I was too ashamed to show my face. I hid while you died." Elena says, "I understand. Your father and I worked 15-hour days in that factory. We couldn't even walk home without fear. We didn't want that for you. That's why we left that place. I never expected anything in return. I love you, baby." They embrace. Then Elena gently says, "Close your eyes and repeat after me. I am a very selfish girl." Elena suddenly twists into a demonic form. Elena growls, "I risked everything coming to this country so you could have a better life." Rosario breaks free and runs, but Elena follows. Slamming the door, Rosario falls back, gasping. She cries, "What do you want from me?" Elena replies, "I want you to see," she says, dragging Rosario across the floor, "to see my sacrifice." Then we see Rosario transported into the past, reliving her mother's migration. Suddenly, immigration officers arrives. Chaos erupts. People scatter. In the panic, Elena gets caught on barbed wire. Nearby, she sees a man collapse, bloodied and gasping. He hands her a cross before dying, and she hides as officers search the area with flashlights. Back in the present, Elena says, "Your grandma and father crossed easily, but I suffered." Rosario replies, "You're not my mother. She sacrificed out of love. She wasn't deceitful like you." Then she adds, "Cobayende, I offer you eternity, trapped in my grandma's corpse." She shoves Elena, puts on the jacket, and starts chanting from the book. Elena screams as she's forcefully pulled into Griselda's mouth. She tries to deceive Rosario, crying out for help, but Rosario remains resolute, chanting without hesitation until Elena is fully absorbed into Griselda's body. Next morning, Oscar arrives at the apartment and finds Rosario sitting in the same place as the night before. He asks what happened and questions her about the book. She replies, "Long story," then notices the mark on her hand has vanished. Oscar spots Elena's cross. Rosario says, "Grandma cared about me." Oscar responds, "So did your mom." Rosario reflects what she went through when she crossed over. "It was horrible." He asks, "How do you know?" She answers, "I saw it." Oscar reveals she was 3 months pregnant when we crossed. The coyotes separated us, and she was never the same. She got sick. He adds, "The ambulance is coming." Together, they recite a prayer for Griselda from the spellbook, and later the medics take Griselda's body away. Then Rosario is seen flipping through an old photo album. Oscar finds the air fryer, confirming Joe was telling the truth. In one photo, Rosario spots blood on her father's fingers. Alarmed, she heads to her grandmother's room and finds Oscar's shirt outside the chamber. Inside, she confronts him. "You made the deal?" he says. "I didn't think it would come to this. It was your first communion. You looked so full of hope. I wanted to give you the life I couldn't. I knew Grandma practiced palo, learned from a palero in Chiapas. So I broke into her chamber and made a wish on her nganga. I had no idea what it would cost." He continues, "Your grandma found me and told me to leave. My mistake came with a price, a blood sacrifice, to keep Cobayende away. Griselda said she'd fix it." Rosario realizes she used that nganga to protect me from the deal you made. Oscar says she put her blood into it every day. Rosario recalls the scars on Griselda's arms. She kept that monster at bay until the day she died. Oscar says. "I'll protect you now. I'll put my blood in it every day." Rosario remembers. If the one who made the deal gives their blood, their body, and soul are sacrificed to Cobayende. She stops him, but it's too late. Oscar transforms into the demon. Rosario tries to escape, but the door locks. Oscar drags the cauldron out and suddenly begins to haunt her. He pulls out a knife and attacks. He kicks her, turns on the stove, and tries to burn her. She fights back, peeling skin from his cheek. Just as he's about to overpower her, Joe appears and hits Oscar hard. Oscar recovers, grabs Joe, lifts him into the air, and snaps his neck. Joe collapses. Just then, Rosario stabs Oscar in the neck. He falls onto the cauldron, impaled by the knives inside. The knife slips from Rosario's hand. As Oscar lies dying, he makes a hand gesture. Rosario whispers, "Love you back, Dad," and he dies. Then we see Rosario has opened a new firm to help underprivileged families. She's seen assisting Miguel and his wife with an investment. After they leave, she lights a candle and recites a prayer. Suddenly, she starts coughing. The glass of the family photo frame begins to crack. The candle goes out and a demonic hand bursts from her mouth. Cut to black. The movie ends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a scare. Until next time, stay spooky.